This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, we have another good neighbor on, Lachlan McGurk with Belfry Chocolates. Lachlan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we're looking forward to it. Sean has already told me a few great things about you, but the audience may not know. So let's get right into it. Lachlan, what do you do? What is Belfry Chocolates?
Belfry or Belfry, either way. Chocolates is not your average chocolatier in business, Jeff. We do have the regular side to chocolatiering. You can come into our store, pick up our handcrafted truffles and chocolate bars and wide array of smash cakes and stuff. But what kind of sets us aside is the custom side of what we do. My background is IT. I see that as an asset. So when we started the business 5 years ago, I wanted to offer a custom chocolate service. And by that, I mean like full service, from designing your custom chocolate bar for maybe a customer appreciation or a wedding or a special event, and then do the full in-house mold production. And we take care of everything in-house here, right here in Alliston. And it's something that we just don't see elsewhere from a chocolatier.
Okay. So before we dive into the story to it, when you say custom, like I can come to you with a design of anything, or I can come to you and say, I don't know what I want. It's my fiance's, it's our anniversary coming up. It's got to be special, Lachlan, but I don't know what to do. So here are some things that she likes. Maybe I bring you a photo, maybe her favorite tattoo, which has some sentimental value, and you can put it together almost like when I go to the tattoo parlor. That's what went through my mind, is sometimes I just know I want a tattoo and I know it has to be special, but I go to the experts to help me with the design. I kind of just give them some ideas. I'm not an artist, so I'm not coming to you with the design. I'm just there to plant some ideas, and you will run with it.
Yeah, exactly right, Jeff. We're really good at getting to the implicit needs of what the can works best for the customer. Sometimes you're right; you don't know exactly what it is you want. You just want to do something that's a bit different, maybe a bit quirky, and we'll sit down with you and say, hey, what are the favorite colors? What are your what you get to understand your style, and then turn that into, we'll paint a picture basically by creating a digital mock-up of that, a rough digital mock-up, a 3D mock-up. We'll take a look at that with you. We work with an icky-wissy basis. Icky-wissy, I know it when I see it. So Jeff, you'll say, I kind of like it, but maybe we should do it round. And maybe we should have the name bigger and a love heart on there, a 3D love heart. So we'll go back quickly, change it again, come back. And when we feel we're pretty close, then we'll do a rough actual 3D cast on a 3D printer, so you can get the touch and feel of what this, the size and the feel and the, of what the final result might look like. And it doesn't take long to work through to that final step. Now, it's pretty, for most of our clients, it's a pretty straightforward process when we're looking at, if a business is looking to, let's say they've got a big event, 50th anniversary, or some kind of customer appreciation event. Usually it starts with their logo, of course, right? Their logo and their slogan. We can quickly add that to a digital mock-up. Hey, what do you think? And, maybe it's a business card size offering or something different. Mm-hmm. Any kind of shape or style we can offer. But either way, we can get rolling pretty fast with this. We're getting pretty good at it, Jeff.
I love it. I really love that idea, because I have not heard of that before. And even though I brought up the kind of my brain was first thinking of that tattoo experience. The second thing that popped up in my brain was our events. We have them a lot, and I'm thinking about our podcast logo. Could we do that in chocolate? And then, I'm also thinking, you're creating these pieces of art. Do people even want to eat them afterwards, or can we somehow keep them frozen in time? Or some of them look incredible, and people don't want to eat them.
Well, a chocolate tattoo wouldn't last very long. So let's not do a chocolate tattoo. But the great thing about chocolate, the magical properties of chocolate, it does actually last a while. It's got a long, long shelf life, solid chocolate. But you actually hit on a really good point, because, it does look great. It's like, well, do I keep this? But the whole idea, what makes this a precious offering from a business to consumer offering, is the subliminal nature, the power of what it offers, right? Because when you give someone, a chocolate bar as a gift, they have to put their trust and faith in you to put that chocolate in their mouth, right? Because it's the psychology of that's we're always very guarded about what we eat and what we drink and what we do and so if the initial exciter is to see this chocolate bar, this custom chocolate bar, that's one thing. But then you're going to the wonderful smell of this amazing Belgian chocolate, and then to actually taste that silky chocolate is to put your faith into that business's hands from a subliminal standpoint. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, that really is an interesting point that I wouldn't have thought of. Not only are you presenting this fantastic piece of art, which is stimulating to the eyes, but there's also that trust factor where now it can be stimulating to the brain and the belly once you start eating it.
Right.
I think that's a really great idea. And that leads me into my next question, as this is very unique. I'm not a part of this world, so very green and looking to learn more about it. But we like asking a handful of specific questions on the show. One of them is the why question. I look at human beings as being a very deep, deep book of pages. And in my earlier life, a lot of times it was just judge that book by the cover, didn't like what I saw right away, and then I closed that book. Probably lost out on a lot of great relationships later in life, often directed from some great mentors that I've had, is to flip through a few of those pages to find out that story behind that person, as everybody has a story. And I find that human beings are fascinating. It's one of my great passions in life is human behavior, why we do what we do. So we like to ask the guests on the show, like, what brought you to doing this? Where did this idea come from? Have you always been involved in it? What's the story behind it, Lachlan?
Yeah, great kind of broad question there, Jeff. I see myself as someone who likes to see opportunities and open doors and go for it. So it kind of started. We have a flower shop as well, and we always have sold chocolate along with the flowers as an add-on. And there was a local chocolatier been going for years and years, and we were a good customer of theirs. And then they decided they were going to, sell the business and do something else. So I woke up on New Year's Day 2019 with a hangover and a chocolate business. We basically had a chat for an hour. We came up with a deal, and we bought the business and brought it in house right under our roof here. I had no idea on how we were going to really make this work, but I knew we would. Right, I knew we would. We retained their services for a little while as part of the contract to transition and to train us, and we bought their old equipment and everything. And I just knew sometimes you just get that gut feeling as an individual, Jeff. Mm-hmm. And I've always had this this trait of feel the fear and do it anyway, right? Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out. But I immediately thought about the custom side of it when as soon as I thought about buying the business, thought I've got to go beyond the traditional and offer something that is kind of quirky and cool for people. I was really used to getting to people's implicit requirements as a kind of seasoned project manager. It's something important, an important skill to have. I've got an IT background, so I'm used to kind of design and that kind of thing, and I understand technology. I thought we should bring those together and offer something different, and it turned out to be a great move.
I love it. So really, it was just right timing and you being the opportunist. Those two things coming together got you a chocolatier business.
Yeah, I mean, and it's an interesting question about where you say right timing, but often people don't spot timing, or sometimes we have to create timing, if
Sure.
you know what I mean.
I do know.
And
Yep.
you can see a door is slightly ajar, but often we don't see that. I like to think that we see that. I like to think that my wife and I are true entrepreneurs. I'll tell you this. I'm a guy. We've got nothing to lose guy. I came from a very, very humble background. I grew up in, pretty extreme poverty in the Highlands of Scotland.
Uh-huh.
And I see life as an opportunity with nothing to lose. We're really, really hard workers. We work hard and play hard, and we will continue to evolve and learn, and and create other open doors as long as we're able.
I love it. So are you and your wife in this together? Like the business side of things?
Yeah. My wife runs the floral side, and I run the chocolatiering side. We've got a full-time chocolatier. I was doing all the kind of chocolatiering side whilst it was getting started, but now we're busy enough to have a full-time chocolatier, Samantha. She's amazing. We're a very small, but lean and dynamic team. We've got five or six employees, and we are a really, really tight team. We get a lot done with not a lot of bodies, because we're just and that's a big huge part of it, Jeff, isn't it? It's just having the right people with you in your family team, if you like.
Oh yeah, no question. We agree with it here. Very tight bonds on this side of the camera, and I'd like to believe that there's a great level of appreciation between the team members, whether employees or partners. And it's the mission, at least on our end, is we all dig the mission and therefore have become efficient with a small group of people as well. Seems similar to you guys. Yeah. I love that story. And can I ask you, what is a true entrepreneur when you say you believe you're a true entrepreneur?
A true entrepreneur, to me, is it's someone who can think laterally, like think outside the box, to come up with to continue to evolve and evolve their business, evolve their operating model with the times, to never complain about that things are going wrong because of other people, and because people drop shipping and just making excuses for why we're not performing how we feel we should be performing or could be performing. It's just making the difference yourself. That's an entrepreneur, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think entrepreneurs really got good ones anyways, the ones that really have made a real run for it and have become successful. They focus on what they can control, which is not a lot. And that makes life a little bit easier and more of an acceptance, or maybe an indifference to the rest. I can't control the weather. I can't control my competition. There's a lot that I can't control. What I can control is my actions, my decisions, and how much value I want to bring out to the world. So I love that you're of the similar mindset when it comes to making things happen. Something that I'm very curious about your business, as I can't think of many because I'm not too familiar with the business. We like to ask about common myths and misconceptions. And the reason we like to do that, although it seems like an obvious question, is because the whole point of this is to put out education that can enrich people's lives. The people that live near us, our ideal demographic, our community. That's the whole point of this, is to get people on here and to put out good information, bring on interesting people to enrich the lives of those we live nearby, as our businesses wouldn't exist without them. So when people have information in their head that is inaccurate, that's leading to less accurate decisions. So is there any myths or misconceptions about your industry that is maybe out there right now that you could clarify for the audience?
I think the myth in the past, but I think we're becoming more nutritionally educated, was that, chocolate isn't good for you because it's regarded as a sweet, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But there's lots of evidence and growing evidence that chocolate, especially dark chocolate, has extremely powerful health properties to it. Obviously, you don't want to gorge yourself on anything, but definitely some good health properties to chocolate for sure.
Yeah, I really like that you point that out, because fitness is my background before growing businesses. It's the foundation of my life, really. If you feel good, everything is better. If you feel like crap, no matter how good the rest is, you still feel like crap. So fitness, nutrition, exercise, and sleep. I was a personal trainer for a long time. I ran my own personal training gym there for a little while. But part of my regiment, as often as I can remember, usually in the morning, is a couple of pieces of dark chocolate with a little bit of added sea salt to it. And that was something that I learned a few years back. I never thought that a part of my little morning ritual would be to have a couple of pieces of dark chocolate. And again, like you said, I'm not gorging myself on it. There is some added sugar in there, although it is very little when it's only a couple of squares. And, my food that I eat to live this fitness life isn't the most flavorful. So those 2 pieces of chocolate, when my breakfast is done, my shake is done, all that stuff is done, it's this little added benefit for the pleasure of it, as it is taste. I didn't even like dark chocolate before I learned this. Now I have a reason to eat it. But those couple of pieces in the morning really kind of put that nice little added pleasure, knowing that I'm getting health benefits from it as well. So I'm glad you put that out there for us, because once we've classified something as a sweet, or for many decades prior to now, a fat, we know how detrimental that was. Pulling fat at everything. I think most of us know the benefits of fat now. Our body absolutely needs it. And then to be sugarless or carbless as well. I mean, sugar is our brain's main source of energy. It's the preferred source of energy. So to have too much of anything is a problem, but in the opposite sense as well. To have too little of some things can be an issue as well. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Pivoting from the business side of things, Lachlan, what do you get up to for fun? Before you answer that, a lot of the entrepreneurs come on the show and they say, I love running my business. I love impacting people. I love seeing, an employee come on at minimum wage and growing into a manager over 5 years, or repeat customers coming back with a smile on their face. Most entrepreneurs do love their business. But outside of business, when business hours are over, what do you find yourself doing that you really enjoy?
Well, I don't get a lot of free time, and I've often been accused of being a squirrel on crystal meth, just because of the
I wonder what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty vivid picture, right? But so bouncing around, doing lots of different things. And honestly, Jeff, I'm glad you asked the question, because we life is short, and we want to paint a colorful life for ourselves and squeeze as much as we can out of it in the short time we get on this planet. So we don't rest. And so when I'm not working, I'm a bagpiper in a local band. Of course I am. I'm Scottish. I do all the Scottish things, actually. I play golf. I don't get much chance to play golf, but I enjoy golf, a Scottish invention. I started and run a whiskey club, a
Really?
Scotch whiskey club. in Alliston. We've been going about 8 years. We have never missed one monthly event, even through COVID. We managed to scramble it through Zoom. And and then on top of that, I am now fulfilling one of my all-time bucket list items, and that is learning to fly, which is it takes a lot of time up in theory and in in the air. So work hard, folks. Work hard and play hard. Live your dreams. Life is short.
That's it. That's it. A number of the things that you've listed off here, like I forget the words verbatim, but your point was, if I'm fearful of it, run towards it, kind of thing. And then you talk about the impermanence of life. We don't know how long it's going to be here, and to do the things that you enjoy while you're here. Most of those, I have my rules for life tattooed on my skin so that they're there to remind me, because I don't know that I'm like a squirrel on meth, but your brain gets distracted by a million different things. And sometimes that distraction can be for seconds. Sometimes it can be for years, though. So
Jeff, can I ask you, I know you're the one asking the question, can I ask you to read a couple of those items from your arm then?
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's pivot a little bit. I got 15 rules, right? Rules, reminders, things that have come from mentors, I'm big into philosophy and psychology, understanding a little bit more of human behavior, get the most out of life. Most of those books behind me are a combination of the two. So number 1, 2, and 3 are my most important reminders. The first one, it says 1440. That's the amount of minutes in a day. So when I wake up in the morning, essentially something beyond my control gave me 1,440 minutes to use as I wish. And then I don't know that I will get those again. So the second one is to remember you will die. The philosophies that I follow, they meditate on their mortality, because we know from our birth date, we got stamped with an end date. We just don't know when it's coming. So don't wait. And then the third one is to be here in the moment. So although I do a lot of future planning, because I think that's prudent to figuring out where you want to go in life, probably better to have a blueprint, some type of map, but to also not waste the moment, because no matter how much planning I do, I may not make it to that end, to the end of that plan. So to really soak up as much of that moment as possible. So those are my top 3. And then the one that relates to you is number 5, fear is your green light. So fear used to stop me. It used to be the obstacle. So it was a red light. It was uncomfortable. I didn't want to do it. So I moved away from fear, and that left me with a very limited perspective and a limited life. You can't find out what you're capable of if you can't move into discomfort. So now I try to remind myself that if I'm afraid of this thing, that is why I have to do it. And like you said, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But at the very least, you will get more used to moving through discomfort if you run towards your fear. So those are some of my top ones.
They're great. And you know what? It's reading through those top 3. I think you and I have got a lot more in common than just being extremely handsome.
Yes. You're right. Well, you know what? Sometimes people come on the show and yeah, we want to get to know you. We want to get to know your business. But at the end of the day, for me, it's what people's moral compass is. Like, what are your values? What do you stand for? What's your mission? And at the end of the day, business is just a category of life. But the game we are playing, the arena we are in, is the arena of life. And you don't know how long it's going to be. And I'd rather be in the game than sitting on the bleachers. And even if I get my ass kicked a handful of times, you learn from those things. When everything's going right, I'm probably learning something. But it's when things aren't going right that now I'm bumped up against the question that I can't answer. So I have to go learn something. I have to become more valuable to get over that obstacle. So human beings like comfort. I certainly do. But the most amount of value has come from moving into uncomfortable situations. And yeah, I'm glad we align on those things, man. I had to bring it up because you're kind of listing some of the things on my arm. And actually, you said we want to paint a colorful life while we're here. And my version of that is choices are the paint to your life's masterpiece. I look at your life as a You were born with a canvas, and then you pick the paint, you pick the paintbrush, and then at your end date, your piece of art will be done. Are you going to be proud of it? Are you going to want to redo? You're going to regret it? Or are you going to be satisfied that I did it while I was here? I got it in while I could. That's the way I try to look at life.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I'm the sort of guy who looks forward to the next time I screw up. I mean, that sounds so counterintuitive. I'll say it again then. I look forward to the next time that I screw up, and it won't be that far down the road, because it's an opportunity for me to evolve and grow even more. Right. And that's
it.
the right attitude.
And what an empowering attitude that is, because so many of us, we're afraid of people's judgment. We're afraid of ridicule. We're afraid of embarrassment. We just don't, we struggle to put ourselves out there. I remember when I started public speaking on stages, it was just the worst feeling ever. Sweaty hands and sweaty pits. And I am just thinking about all the times I'm going to stumble. And then I really thought about it in the grand scheme of things. It's like, so what if I screw up? So what if people judge me a little bit? Well, I have this rule of 10, 10, and 10. In 10 minutes, how will I feel about this? If I really screw up that event, I'll probably still feel pretty shitty. In 10 weeks, how will I feel about it? I could probably still remember it. But in 10 years, will it even be on my radar? And that's how I judge the meaningful experiences that I go through. If those aren't yeses to all three of those 10s, yes, I'll feel crappy about this in 10 minutes, 10 weeks, 10 years, then this, in the grand scheme of things, isn't really an impactful experience. And I think that's the majority of our experiences.
Absolutely.
That we get caught up in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very cool, man. I'm glad you asked that question, because not a lot of people ask us questions on the show, but that's what a conversation is. And that's really what we're trying to have here. And that leads me into, this was a great kind of segue into what we've really been talking about. And I said we'd like to ask a couple of meaningful questions on the show. The why question at the beginning: why do you do what you do? And then this is probably my second most meaningful question. I got a secret weapon at the end that I don't let anybody know about on the questionnaire, but this one is about hard things. It's sharing our hard things with one another, with the audience. I find too much out there in the world, the places where people watch and absorb the most stuff. So you'll find social media, a lot of absorbing stuff going on there. And we often present ourselves in the perfect light, all the great things that are going on in our life, the great bodies, the money, the cars, all that. And the vast majority of us aren't in that space. So we go there to feel better about our life for whatever reason. And we look at that and we think, that is not me. I don't resonate with that. I actually feel worse now. I'm going to get off social media because I came here to feel better and I feel worse. So we present these kind of falsified lives. And then you go on the news, which is the opposite end of the spectrum, salacious, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead kind of thing. So that's the worst case. Whereas we try to present reality as close to what it is. And so we want to celebrate the good things in life too, the pleasurable things, the things that have gone well, but also the things that haven't gone well. Because we were just talking about it a moment ago. It's through those hard situations that we learn what we're capable of, how much more we can impact people, how much more we can learn. So I like to ask the guests on the show, as much as they're comfortable with sharing, any hardships, trials, and tribulations that you went through that probably sucked in the moment. You got that feeling of this sucks. But when you look back on it now, you wouldn't remove that experience from your life because it was an integral ingredient to making you who you are today.
Yeah. Great question, Jeff. And just before I try and answer that, you're absolutely hit the nail on the head from a social media perspective, in my view. And I actually pulled myself out of Facebook and social media. Like, I still have an account. I never do anything in there, years ago. And not because it made me feel bad looking at what other people were doing, but because I knew other people who were sad because they were seeing what this false picture of everyone else being happy, and just some of the heartache that other people that I know were feeling through social media. That's really why I pulled myself out of it. But I think my childhood was difficult, right? And as I mentioned, I don't see that as something that I want to ever seek sympathy for, because of people who had a lot more difficult, hard upbringing than me. I mean, we're really poor. I remember saying to my dad, Dad, build us a tree house. Go on, build us a tree house. And he'd say, no, son, we're going to continue to live in the car, right? And I have his hand-me-downs, and his hand-me-down clothes, and his pants were so long on me, Jeff, I had to open the zipper to see where I was walking. But you learn from that, and it makes you stronger. But yeah, definitely made mistakes. If you want stock tips and investment tips, don't come to me for them. Right? I definitely have made some bad moves in there, and sometimes I reflect on those, and if I'd done that and not done that, then it would have worked better. But I've learned from them, and I've learned that I'm not going to do that. It's not in my skill set, and I'll rely on someone else to a professional to take care of any investment ideas like that for me in future. But what else? Yeah, it's when you do work so hard for every penny that you earn, and you do make mistakes like that, like investment mistakes or something, then you have to learn from them. And it's life is a continual learning experience, as we've just discussed. I'm trying to think of something else. I don't know. Give me some direction here.
Well, those were, I mean, first off, I appreciate you sharing them with them. Our childhood always seems to be a complicated subject for a lot of us. And the fact that you're willing to share that with us, I really appreciate it. And I know the audience will too. When it comes to direction, it's just the question that comes to my mind. I mean, I know we've talked about this. We've touched on this a little bit, but what do you think the culmination of going through all those hard things has done for your life? To wrap up this question, I mean, when people, before you answer, people struggle to go through hard things. They don't want to do it because it feels uncomfortable. So if we're out there talking about this and trying to shine a light on it, it's like, what's the point is going to be some of the audience question, like, why do this? They can hear from so many different entrepreneurs. They can hear from me. They can hear from Sean, but why go through them? Some of them you choose. And I think the moments of discomfort that we move through voluntarily are even more impactful, but sometimes we don't have a choice, like your childhood. So what do you think the culmination of that did for you as an individual? Think it helped you become a better entrepreneur, more grateful for life, something like that?
It definitely helped me be very resolute in my core values. I looked at the style that my father had, without going too deep into it, and I said, I'm going to be the opposite of that. And I swore that I would never miss a day of work in my life, and I never have. And so that was a big shaper for me. I swore that I would be a big influence in my daughter's life and her education, and I was, and she is a doctor of pharmacy now. She's the first one in our family to actually go through university. My dad told me that the only way that I would get into university would be in a specimen jar. So I provided my daughter a lot more encouragement than that. So I made a conscious choice to take a path that was different, and not the path of least resistance. I have very little fear in my life about trying something, because of what we talked about earlier, because of those items you got listed on your arm, right? And and that's going to continue to be the core for me is enjoying every minute through hard work and hard play.
I love it, man. I really love that. I mean, all of it was so good, but there's just certain things that I'm very interested in right now. And, you know, I lead a large team of people, and I talk about this hard stuff so much because our business is difficult. You know, we're all entrepreneurs here. We have a staff of employees, but most of the people that I'm leading are other entrepreneurs trying to build their own business. And it's a mental battle by far. I think you could argue that most of life is. My physical challenges have never even come close to my mental challenges. So we have to find a good reason to move through those challenges. And the point that I really liked is I've been trying to figure out kind of the science behind this, or a better way of explaining it to my team is that most of us, especially in the West, and maybe this is because you didn't come from here, I'm not sure, but we look at work, a lot of us, not all of us, but we look at work as a thing we have to do, a means to an end, paycheck. If you asked 10,000 people, if you didn't have to work, if there was a life that you didn't have to work, would you not work? The vast majority of them would say, yes, I would not work. And you said, I want to enjoy every moment through hard work and hard play, 2 equal parts. So that left me interpreting that as you really enjoy your work. And you seem to be part of a small few that have tapped into the meaningful journey of building something, creating something that can impact other people. That's really what we're trying to do here, is to show that work is something you get to do. You know, there are ways to get around work. We're alive, so we get to do all these things. If you weren't here, you would not even have the choice. So I really like that you touched on that. Enjoy the moment by working hard and playing hard. I appreciate you sharing that with us, man. That was a great story. To pivot into our last couple of questions here, what's one thing you wish our audience knew about? How do you like it pronounced? Belfry or Belfry?
Oh, I say Belfry because that's the British way of saying it, but Belfry is whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay. So what is one thing you wish our audience knew about Belfry Chocolates?
That we are Alliston's #1 chocolatier, because we're the only chocolatier. Right? You have no. We are a little bit different, right? We're a wee bit different, not just from the custom molding standpoint. All of our chocolate that we use is very high grade, and we absolutely make sure that it comes from traceable, sustainable sources. It's very important for us. Everything we do is handcrafted and all in-house. And yeah, it's just a great experience to come in here, smell the chocolate, sample the chocolate, speak to us. We like to have a laugh. So yeah, that's what I like to get.
And where's your service area? I mean, not where, Alliston is a part of it, but do you branch out more than Alliston?
Yeah, for sure. We have actually worked with a lot of wineries down in Niagara-on-the-Lake, like Jackson Triggs, and prior to COVID, we were taking the ice wine from, say, Jackson Triggs, Diamond Estates, Taw's Winery, and others, Conzelman, and putting it into the chocolates and creating some amazing ice wine chocolates. And so and you know, Toronto, and obviously up in Barrie and right around that area, we service now with you know, with our services. So yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was hoping you'd say more places in Simcoe County, because it seems like what you guys do is really unique, and there's just a market for that handcrafted, high quality products. I mean, that's usually who we're speaking to on the show. Our audience is a more affluent audience, and they're looking for that done exactly the way they want it, and that kind of white glove experience, which it seems like you guys give. So my favorite question. This is the one I leave out of the questionnaire. And I talked about mentors a little bit. I pretty much talk about them on every episode. I love the line behind every excellent person, there's an excellent teacher. So mentors have really helped shape my life in a way that I enjoy quite a bit. But when I was in my early 20s, I wasn't living that same life, nearly 40 now, but I was very lucky to come across a number of mentors. One in particular, she got very involved in my life. And she said, it would be prudent of you to start thinking about your impact up to this moment in time. Like, look back, there's probably going to be some things you regret, some painful experiences that you could have avoided, some things that you like. That information will allow you to make better decisions going forward. Think about your impact of today, because you may not get tomorrow. And then think about the impact you want to have for as long as you are going to be here. So you're very intentional about your life. And, for me, it's to figure out all that I'm capable of and share it with other people. That's essentially my impact. That's my purpose that I've designed for myself. But we like to ask our guests, what do you want your impact to be? Whether it's family, community, business, they're probably all one and the same, I would argue. But yeah, what do you want your impact to be, Lachlan?
It's the same thing we've been talking about all show, really, I think, Jeff, is to not allow fear to stop you from realizing your expectations. We are, as humans, capable of so much more and adding so much more color in our lives if we can just get over the fear hurdle. You hit on it earlier. If you're scared about something, if something, you feel a fear in something, then you should be doing it, is what you said earlier. And I love that outlook. I've shared this with my daughter, and it's kind of helped shape her upbringing, is if you don't try, you won't know, right? If you don't try, you won't know. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And I'm a huge advocate of that. We are our own we create this prisoner aspect for ourselves. And if we can just find a way to get over that hurdle more often, then you can add so much more color to your life. That's that. If I can help mentor anybody in that area, I'll just give me a call.
That's a big win. And I like that, adding more color to your life, because that's really what it is. You start building up your own self-worth. Your value meter starts to increase as you start to go through these things, these hard things, and realize how capable you are. The world does get more colorful, and you start realizing how amazing of an experience it is to be alive and not take it for granted. So I really appreciate you sharing all that with us, Lachlan. And just by talking to you today, I imagine you are doing that for other people as you move throughout your life. Where can our listeners find out about you? How do they connect with you, man?
Well, you can give us a call, 705-250-6455. You can go to belfrychocolates.com. That's BELFRY chocolates.com. That's the easiest ways to get in touch with us. And we'd love to see you in store. You can come into our store, which is 122 Victoria Street West in Alliston. We are the treat of Victoria Street. So come in and say hello.
Beautiful. Lachlan, I'm really glad you asked that question and that you were as engaging as you were. We have all different types of personalities on this show, but I love, people know me, I love getting into the deeper conversations, the really meaningful stuff. I'm a counselor at an addictions facility on the weekend, and that's where I learned to do all that, is to have these hard but deeper, these conversations. What is the point of life? Why are we doing what we're doing? So thank you for walking that journey with me on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man. It's been great.
Great. Power to the people. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.